College football fans, buckle up, because this Saturday, December 6th, we are diving headfirst into one of the most anticipated matchups of the season. The SEC championship game between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Alabama Crimson Tide in Atlanta, Georgia. It feels like we've seen this matchup 100 times before, but each year it carries the same intensity, the same high stakes, and the same potential for history to be made. These are two of the absolute powerhouses in college football, brands that carry weight not just on the field but across the entire sport. Their rosters are stacked from top to bottom with 4- and 5-star recruits, brimming with NFL-level talent, and coaches who know exactly how to exploit every inch of field and every matchup advantage. On one side, you've got Kirby Smart, a coach who has been trying to shake off the weight of repeated losses to Alabama, and on the other, the Crimson Tide under Nick Saban, whose teams seem to find a way to win consistently against Georgia. The question is simple yet monumental. Who will emerge victorious this time, claim the SEC title, and keep, or disrupt, their path to the college football playoff? Let's start by looking at the teams themselves. Georgia comes into this game at 11-1, sitting as the highest-ranked SEC team heading into the weekend. On the road, they'll face the number 10 Crimson Tide, who are 10-2 on the season. These teams have already met earlier this year in a game that was razor-thin, ending with Alabama edging Georgia 24-21. That matchup, close as it was, highlighted the recurring challenge for Georgia. Kirby Smart has struggled historically against Alabama. In fact, his record against the Tide in his tenure shows just one win in the last 8 matchups. That's a daunting stat, and it often impacts game planning. Smart tends to adopt a more conservative approach against Alabama, but this season we've seen flashes of calculated aggression in critical moments. The Bulldogs are aware that to finally break this pattern, they'll need to execute decisively and maintain confidence under pressure. On the Alabama side, the Crimson Tide boast a roster loaded with talent, as always, with high-level NFL prospects spread across their offense and defense. Quarterback Ty Simpson has been an intriguing storyline this year. Despite some struggles, notably against Auburn, he's proven capable of extending plays with his legs and making timely throws, keeping defenses on their heels. Simpson has thrown for 3,100 yards with 25 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions, demonstrating both his passing acumen and his ability to manage the game. However, Alabama's running game has been a glaring weakness all season. They're averaging just 126 rushing yards per game, a concerning stat against a Georgia defense that only allows 86.1 rushing yards per game. Miller, their usual ground threat, has been limited, and even with playmakers like Bernard and Ryan Williams, the Tide's inability to establish a strong run game could prove costly in a high-stakes matchup like this. Georgia, meanwhile, has been efficient and disciplined under center. Quarterback Stockton has thrown for 2,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions this season. He's the kind of quarterback who doesn't force plays, who reads the defense and lets the game come to him, and this poise will be key against a talented Alabama defense. Running back, Frazier and the team's ground game have picked up steam recently, particularly with Branch as a dynamic playmaker. When the Bulldogs feed him the ball, he makes things happen, whether through receptions, runs, or special teams. Georgia's offense isn't flashy in an unpredictable way. It's methodical, balanced, and effective, and that makes it especially dangerous against a team like Alabama, which struggles to consistently generate pressure on both sides of the ball. Looking at the numbers, Georgia scores 32.3 points per game, averaging 226 yards passing and 190 rushing, while surrendering just 16.7 points per game, including holding opponents to 86.1 rushing yards. Alabama, conversely, puts up 33.3 points per game, throwing for 278 yards and running for just 126, while allowing 16.5 points per game. These statistics highlight just how close these teams are, both on offense and defense. Fans and analysts alike are essentially split down the middle on this one. Georgia enters as a 1 to 2 point favorite, effectively making this a pick'em game, with the over-under set at 47.5. Even with all the historical context, the probability numbers show a near 50-50 split. Georgia with a 48.9% chance to win, Alabama with 51.1%. This is a true toss-up, the kind of game that comes down to execution in the final minutes, turnovers, and who can impose their will when it matters most. When we examine player matchups more closely, Georgia's balanced attack and disciplined quarterback play could exploit Alabama's vulnerabilities, especially in the running game. Stockton's ability to avoid turnovers will be critical, as even a single mistake can swing a tight game. On the ground, Branch has the ability to make game-changing plays, and if the Bulldogs continue to feed him effectively, it could neutralize Alabama's pass-heavy tendencies. Conversely, Ty Simpson and the Crimson Tide must find creative ways to extend plays and rely on their wide receiver core, including Kalen DeBoer and Grubbs, who thrive on vertical passing. But facing Georgia's stout defense, even the most talented passers will have to contend with limited windows and relentless pressure. Historically, Kirby Smart has faced what many call the Alabama curse, a pattern of repeated close losses to Nick Saban's teams. But this season, Georgia has demonstrated flashes of adaptability and clutch performance. The question isn't just whether they can beat Alabama, it's whether they can finally break the pattern decisively, cover the spread, and manage the clock to their advantage. On the other side, Alabama, despite past successes, will need to address their running game deficiencies, maintain composure in critical moments, and rely on Simpson's dual-threat abilities to avoid letting the Bulldogs control the tempo. Given all this, the prediction for the SEC championship hinges on a combination of disciplined offense, defensive resilience, and the ability to capitalize on key matchups. Georgia's ability to run the ball effectively, combined with their disciplined passing and stout defense, gives them a tangible edge in what will undoubtedly be a competitive, nail-biting game. While Alabama has consistently managed to win tight games against Georgia, the statistics and recent performance trends suggest this may be the year the Bulldogs finally get the job done. My prediction is a Georgia win, 27-20, with the Bulldogs covering the spread and a slight lean toward the under on the total points. This game is more than just a matchup, it's a story of redemption, strategy, and high stakes. If Alabama loses, there will be immediate questions about their playoff positioning, with the committee potentially reevaluating their top 12 placement. Georgia, regardless of the outcome, is likely to remain firmly in the playoff picture, but a win here would solidify their dominance in the SEC and set up a high-stakes journey through the playoffs, potentially all the way to the national championship. So as we get ready for kickoff, remember this is the kind of game that defines seasons, tests legacies, and keeps fans on the edge of their seats. Georgia, Bulldogs 27, Alabama Crimson Tide 20. Spread covered. Slight lean under 47.5 total points. Make sure to follow the action, watch every quarter, and track key matchups and plays that will define this championship clash. Next one, we're talking about the Big Ten title game featuring a true clash of titans. The number 2 Indiana Hoosiers facing off against the undefeated, number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes. Both teams come into this game at 12-0, and one of them is guaranteed to suffer their first loss of the season. This isn't just another regular season finale, it's a national stage showdown, a 1-versus-2 matchup that could very well shape the college football playoff and even the Heisman Trophy race. By the time the clock hits 8 p.m. on Fox, we will have a clear picture of which team asserts dominance, and both fan bases will be watching with bated breath. Looking at the Hoosiers, Indiana has quietly built one of the most balanced, efficient teams in the country. Mendoza, their standout quarterback, has been sensational this season, throwing for 3,000 yards with 32 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. Beyond his passing ability, he's also a legitimate rushing threat, adding 6 or 7 touchdowns on the ground and accumulating around 900 rushing yards. Mendoza's ability to make plays both in the pocket and outside of it gives Indiana a dynamic edge, and it's a key reason why they're averaging 44.3 points per game, top 5 in the nation. The Hoosiers' offense is remarkably balanced, with 254 passing yards and 230 rushing yards per game, giving them a true 50-50 attack. That versatility is critical against a team like Ohio State, whose defense ranks among the very best in the country. Indiana's success this season hasn't come by accident. Head coach Curt Cignetti has transformed this program in just 2 seasons, taking a team that has only ever had 2 10-win seasons in school history and elevating them to an undefeated, national contender. The Hoosiers reflect their coach's personality: aggressive, disciplined, and physically dominant at the line of scrimmage. Defensively, they are outstanding as well, giving up just 10.9 points per game and allowing only 79 rushing yards per game. This is a team that can keep pace with anyone, and they've demonstrated resilience in tight games against quality opponents. On the other side, the Ohio State Buckeyes are the defending national champions, a program with a storied history of winning and a roster brimming with talent. Ryan Day has this team running at full speed, particularly after shaking off the pressure of a 4-game losing streak to Michigan with a hard-fought victory last season. Ohio State's offense is powered by a deep and talented wide receiver core, featuring Smith, Tate, and Ananis, alongside Sion, giving quarterback Sion multiple weapons to attack any defense. The Buckeyes are averaging 37 points per game, with 267 passing yards and 172 rushing yards, demonstrating a balanced but slightly more pass-heavy attack. Jackson, their lead running back, is on pace to surpass 1,000 yards for the season, giving them a respectable ground threat despite the emphasis on the air game. Defensively, Ohio State is elite. They allow just 7.8 points per game, only 121.3 yards passing, and 81.7 rushing yards per game. The secondary, led by Matt Patricia, is suffocating, limiting opponents' options both through the air and on the ground. Indiana will have its hands full trying to generate big plays against this defense, and it will take precise execution, discipline, and quick decision-making to overcome these constraints. This matchup will test Mendoza's Heisman credentials, as a strong performance against Ohio State could cement his case for the award. The betting outlook reflects just how tight this game is. Indiana comes in with a 50.6% chance to win, narrowly edging out Ohio State at 49.4%. The Buckeyes are favored by 5.5 points, while the over-under sits at 48.5. This spread indicates just how evenly matched these teams are, despite Ohio State's reputation and historical dominance. Fans and analysts alike are split, with some leaning toward the Hoosiers as a rising program with momentum and balanced talent, while others trust the defending champions to pull away late with experience and depth. Analyzing the key matchups, Indiana's offense will need to rely heavily on Mendoza and their rushing game to keep Ohio State honest. Cooper Surratt and the wide receivers will need to create separation and exploit any soft spots in the Buckeyes' secondary, but they're facing one of the most disciplined defenses in the country. Conversely, Ohio State's quarterback and wide receiver talent, along with Jackson in the backfield, must balance the attack, moving the chains efficiently and preventing turnovers. Both teams excel at line of scrimmage football, and this will likely come down to execution in the trenches, situational football, and who can maintain composure under the spotlight of a 1 versus 2 matchup. Statistically, the Hoosiers are throwing for 254 yards and rushing for 230, scoring 44.3 points per game while allowing only 10.9. Ohio State is slightly less explosive offensively but extremely efficient, scoring 37 points per game with 267 yards passing and 172 rushing, while allowing just 7.8 points. Both teams dominate at both ends, which is why this game is essentially a toss-up in terms of performance metrics. A key difference may come down to experience in high-pressure situations. Ohio State has won multiple conference championships recently and enters the game with the confidence of a defending national champion, while Indiana, though highly talented, is navigating uncharted waters in a game of this magnitude. Prediction-wise, this is expected to be a close game, potentially decided in the fourth quarter. While Indiana has the tools to keep this game competitive, the Buckeyes are likely to make the difference. I have Ohio State winning this 128-7, covering the spread while keeping the total slightly under 48.5. This victory would extend their undefeated streak, maintaining their number 1 status heading into the playoffs, and potentially setting the stage for a rematch if both teams meet again in the postseason. Indiana, regardless of the outcome, will have solidified itself as a legitimate contender with a team capable of competing at the highest level. This matchup isn't just about wins and losses. It's about legacies, Heisman implications, playoff positioning, and the rise of programs like Indiana challenging traditional powerhouses. Mendoza's performance here could define his season, potentially propelling him to front-runner status for the Heisman, while Ohio State will be looking to cement its dominance and continue its impressive winning streak. Fans should expect a hard-hitting, physical game where execution, discipline, and situational awareness are crucial, and the outcome may hinge on just a few key plays late in the fourth quarter. As always, if you want deep, expert analysis, detailed breakdowns, and informed predictions for every major college football matchup, stick with Beyond the Box Score. We bring you the insight, stats, and strategic analysis you need to fully understand the game, and we break it down in a way that's easy to follow but grounded in expert evaluation. Drop your final score predictions in the comments, your thoughts on the spread, and who you think will ultimately take the Big Ten crown. This is the channel for the fans who want the edge and want to know exactly what to expect when the big games matter the most.